Hello, welcome to the Dealing with Divorce podcast, where we bring together experts from around Georgia and family law to help you deal with divorce before, during, and after. Today's guest is Dodie Sachs. Dodie is the leader of the Gwinnett County Bar Association, or the Gwinnett County Family Law section of the Bar Association. Thank you for joining us today.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me.
So tell us a little about yourself and how you became the leader of the Gwinnett County Family Law section of the bar.
Been involved with the Gwinnett County Bar Association for a long time. I started at, was law day chair and went through the leadership ranks of the Bar Association. I was president of the Bar Association from 2020 to 2021. So we've always had a very active family law section. And the people that were the leaders, I think, about 2 or 3 years ago, had decided that they had done it for a while and that they wanted to move on and do new things. So I volunteered to become the section chair. I've been chair for 2 years.
And so what's the goal of the family law section?
Well, really just to educate the members about, things that are going on that are of interest to the family law section. So we frequently have, speakers that are leaders in their field, either about running their own practice, or people that are experts that would be resources for the family law section members. We also try and run a CLE once a year as well.
All right, and you mentioned that you started off with Law Day. What is Law Day?
Law Day is a federal holiday. It's May 1st every year. It was created by, I think, President Truman, although that might be incorrect, but that's my recollection. And it's a day to honor the role of lawyers in our community and the importance of the rule of law to Americans. And so every year, different legal organizations have things to honor. Law Day, they have, like in Gwinnett County, we always have a judicial appreciation luncheon. There's usually a service project that we do in addition to other service projects throughout the year that we do for Law Day. And we have a banquet to honor the legal leaders, but also we give awards to like a non-lawyer who has made a large contribution to the legal system in the county. And we usually honor a law enforcement officer of the year.
And so how would someone get involved with Law Day? Like who leads it? Who's in charge of the operations, and how did you get involved?
There's a lawyer, a local lawyer every year that is the Law Day chair that is nominated and selected by the Gwinnett County Bar Association leadership team.
And how are the leaders selected for the Gwinnett County Bar Association?
They're elected. So everybody that is a member of the Bar Association has the right to vote. They're the Bar Association year, like the fiscal year, but it's not a money-making operation. The bar year runs from, I think, July 1st to July 1st. So the elections come out and the attorneys that are the members of the Bar Association vote on the leadership team each year.
Cool. And so, did you become the president at some point of the Bar Association?
Right. I was the president of the Bar Association from 2020 to 2021. I was the COVID president. So.
Oh, wow. Cool.
So it was a very different bar presidential year than what I was anticipating I would have.
Yeah, I imagine so. So did y'all still meet, and were there like virtual meetings around that time?
Everybody had the option to participate in the monthly meetings via Zoom, but we consulted with the health department and about whether or not it was safe to have in-person meetings or not. And so we actually did have in-person meetings. Most people wore masks except for when they were eating, and we did, put safety measures in place to reduce the number of seats at a table so people weren't very close to each other. Mm-hmm. There were lots of...
You had to figure out your own standards for that time period.
Right. We had lots of hand sanitizer.
Yeah. And what about with the meetings, with the bar luncheons and stuff? How often do you do those?
The bar luncheon is the third Friday of every month from August to May.
Okay, so every month for the regular bar luncheons, and then is there also a family law section meetings?
The family law section meetings, right now we're meeting the second or third Wednesday of every month in a restaurant in downtown Lawrenceville.
And how would somebody get involved and get notified about those meetings and become a member of the Gwinnett County Family Law section?
You, if you're a member of the Gwinnett County Bar, you have the option of adding section membership when you sign up. But even if you're not a section member, the information on the meetings gets emailed out to all the Bar Association members. So first step, be a member of the Gwinnett County Bar Association, and you'll get notified of the luncheons and hopefully a member of the section as well.
And what kind of speakers do you have at the luncheons? Or at the family law section meetings, which are normally at lunches, right?
Right, so I've been doing lunches. We're going to have we're going to transition. Mike Sullivan of Edward Jones is going to be the family law section chair going forward. So some of the programming might change.
Cool. I just met with Micah probably a week or two ago. I'll probably have him on the podcast here maybe next month or two. So how did you meet Mike?
He actually comes to all the meetings, so I met him in conjunction with his attendance at the family law section meetings.
And so what other speakers do you have upcoming or in any of the meetings?
Well, we just had our last speaker of this, right? Because the bar year turns over with the school year, right? So we just had our last speaker. We had Andy Gothard of, I think it's Atlanta Psychiatric Consultants I probably got that wrong, but the name of his firm, they do like psychological evaluations and custody evaluations in family law cases. And he was just our last speaker.
And what did you learn about that? What kind of situations would someone use his services?
Well, right, it was interesting to hear a little bit about when a psychological evaluation is appropriate versus a custody evaluation and the differences between the two. So when you do a custody evaluation, the psychiatrist would meet with both parents of a child or the child, depends on who the person, and the child in a custody evaluation, and do different testing and psychological testing to make a recommendation, a custody recommendation in a case. A psychological evaluation, they're evaluating one person's mental health to see if they have a mental health diagnosis or not, and they can also do a parental fitness evaluation as part of the psychological evaluation to make a recommendation as to that person's mental status and how it would affect their custody.
So how, kind of backing up a little, we jumped right into the present. What's your background? What's your history? How long have you been practicing family law? Tell us about your firm and why people should be listening to us in the first place.
Right, so I've been a family law attorney for 22 years in Gwinnett County, and I've done family law not exclusively the whole time, but I've done family law almost the entire time that I've been an attorney. I actually tried to take a vacation and do some other fields of law that I found that I did not enjoy them as much as family law, and pretty quickly came right back to it. So I really enjoy being a family law attorney. Before I went to law school, I had a wide variety of kind of random jobs. I grew up in North Carolina, so I went to UNC Chapel Hill. Then I was an intellectual property private investigator. I worked for a lumber wholesaling company. So I worked for a website for a while before I went to law school. I went to Tulane Law School in 2001 to 2004.
And where's Tulane?
In New Orleans.
Okay.
And then after graduation, came here to Atlanta Metro. And I've worked, like I said, I worked at first in a general practice firm and then as a, family law attorney almost the whole time.
So what was it about family law in your heart that really brought you back to it?
Family law is one of the rare times that you're in litigation trying to fix people's future, right? So many different kinds of litigation, you're fighting about something that happened in the past and trying to seek, reparations, or it depends on what kind of case it is, right? But you're fighting about something that happened. You have a discrete set of facts that are set in stone because the event has already happened. The contract, was breached. The alleged crime, occurred.
Yeah.
But with family law cases, there is a history and the history is relevant, but what you're really trying to do is help families form the best future they can have. You're dividing marital assets to help people with their financial future, or custody, visitation, child support, to for people's children and their future relationships. You're trying to lay a good path and foundation, and that's really what I like about it.
How is navigating something like custody, and what kind of factors of custody make it more complicated than, say, contract law, like you were saying, that it's very black and white?
Well, right, so contract happened. It's a document. The way contract law works in Georgia, the contract says what the contract says, and there are only rare circumstances where you're going to look outside of it. And then you're looking at, did someone, not follow the rules in this contract? It's a very limited set of circumstances. But a custody case, right? When you read the law on custody cases, and that's kind of the way my firm starts with everything, is what is the law, and then what are the facts, and how do we help you get the solution that you want. 1993 has 17 custody factors that the judge should consider, and anything else that the judge might find is relevant. So it's a much broader net of, what are the things that have happened and why are they important to the judge.
So could someone, prior to having kids, just have a contract on who's going to get custody?
No, you can't. You can't. It's what you can't predict, right? The law in Georgia, the judges have to make a custody decision with the factors that are in existence at the time of that the decision has to be made. So you can't have, we used to have they called them springing clauses in divorce contracts where they said, if this happens, then custody changes this way. And you actually can't do that because you have to look at the facts and circumstances, at the time that custody may or may not need to be adjusted.
And so how might having a divorce lawyer or a custody lawyer benefit someone in a case that was, disputed custody?
Well, we really try to be resolution focused at Sachs Family Law. We really try, like I said, help people form their best future. So we do give our clients some advice and point them towards resources, towards how to best communicate with their co-parent. It's not about beating the other person. It's about, resolving your case and really laying a foundation to have a good co-parenting relationship going forward. We really try to never have, repeat clients because we want to have people have faith in their documents, to have them be drafted to address different situations that could happen in the future, and, really try to learn how to effectively communicate with their co-parent to try and reduce conflict in the future.
So, there are some cases that people were able to get the case settled just between themselves and their lawyers, and other ones, like you were mentioning earlier, where there might be psychological evaluations or guardian ad litems. How common are each of those? Which one's more common? Are we having to get in experts more often than not, or is that a rare thing?
I think it depends on your county that your case is in, right? Because you have different judges deciding the cases in different counties, and the different judges, I think, have a strong preference as to whether or not they feel like they're the best person to make the custody decision, or if they want a lot of outside help and resources. But it also depends on who the parties are in the case. I mean, guardians ad litem and psychological evaluations are an extra cost that some people just aren't able to afford. But sometimes it's just not clear. There's not clear evidence as to whether, which parent is telling the truth, or which parent is the high conflict parent, or what the answers are. Sometimes, you can tell there's something going on, the kids aren't flourishing, but you can't, as a lawyer, we're not trained mental health professionals, right? And so we can see there's a problem, but to figure out what the problem is and what's the best resolution, we can't always figure that out. And so that's when you turn to extra professionals like custody and psychological evaluations or guardian ad litem to help kind of shed some light on what the underlying situation is.
So is it only people who have means that have availability to experts and guardian ad litems, or does the government ever provide that to families who maybe not have those resources?
Again, I think it's going to depend on the resources of your county. In Gwinnett County, if you need a guardian ad litem and the family doesn't have the resources, the judge can refer the case to juvenile court, where the because the county has its own guardian ad litem office in juvenile court, but not every case and every judge thinks that's appropriate, right? Juvenile court has its own cases, and they can't
And
just
its own budgets.
and its own budget, and you can't run every superior court case through juvenile court. I'm not certain what resources the other counties have. I know that AVLF, the Atlanta Volunteer Lawyer Foundation, can provide free or low cost guardians ad litem, but that's a Atlanta Metro. I don't think they do that here in Gwinnett County.
And I know you help and advocate a lot for like the Gwinnett Pro Bono project and helping people who don't have the financial resources. What kind of, community support do they offer?
So Atlanta Legal Aid Society is the pro bono, which means free representation for all different kinds of cases, civil cases, not criminal cases, in Atlanta Metro. And outside of Atlanta Metro, those same services are provided by the Georgia Legal Services Program, GLSP. And so they provide free legal representation to people who income qualify, right? To lower income people. They have their own standards as to who that is. So one option you can have with legal aid, the Gwinnett Legal Aid, is to have representation in your family law case. The Pro Bono project is where they try and find attorneys in the community that will represent qualifying clients for free in their cases if they can't handle the case at the legal aid office. And sometimes there's just so many more cases than legal aid has staff that they can represent people. And they have other programs as well. There's one called Lawyer in the Library, where you can sign up for a 30 or 45-minute appointment with a legal aid attorney in the law library at the Gwinnett County Justice and Administration Center. I think that's Tuesdays and Wednesdays in the law library. And then I also teach a class called the Family Law Information Class. It's once a month over Zoom, and it's a 2-hour class about how to represent yourself in a family law case.
And how would someone get more information on that to sign up and benefit from that educational opportunity?
So if you go to the Gwinnett County's website, gwinnettcourts.com, in the bar, the header bar that, it has different information about the courts and the judges, there's one that says court programs. And so the family law information class is there, and you can click there and sign up for the class.
Okay. And what are there any other, sounds like you're very involved with a lot of these organizations. Are there any other organizations or programs that you work with?
Right, those are the main things that I do. I work with the Bar Association and with Legal Aid.
Are you endorsing any of these candidates out there?
Not on a public forum.
Okay, I could totally understand that. Neither am I. So I was also, wanting to ask about the thing in the Omni, the Family Law Institute. Are you going to the Family Law Institute this year?
Not this year. I am very blessed. My daughter graduated college last weekend.
Oh, wow.
And my son graduates high school this weekend. And so our May is a little hectic.
Wonderful. Well, congratulations to them. Where are they going on to?
Well, Emma graduated Agnes Scott, so she graduated college. So she wants to go to medical school. So she's home for a little bit studying and preparing to take the MCAT. And then she wants to be an orthopedic trauma surgeon. And so she's going to go to Gwinnett Tech and get her to work on an ambulance, like her EMS or EMR, and get some trauma experience while the medical school cycle is long. So she's got to take the MCAT, and then wait to be admitted, that'll be the next year. So she wants to work on an ambulance while she waits to go to medical school.
Well, I heard somewhere that you'll always have a job, and if you're in the industry of health, wealth, or relationships. It sounds like health is going to always be there and always be needed. And so is relationships.
Yeah.
What about your other one?
Jacob is going to go also to Gwinnett Tech. He wants to be an auto mechanic. And so they have an associate's program at Gwinnett Tech in automotive.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And so neither of them want to be a lawyer, though, huh?
My husband and I have 5 children, and both of their mothers, myself and my husband's first wife, are lawyers, and none of the 5 of them want to be an attorney.
Oh boy.
But Emma always said that she knew that she could have a profession and a personal life because she saw me balance both. So not a lawyer, but at least she learned from observing that you can have a profession and a family life. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, are there any, I guess, mentors or any people that in family law that you want to give a shout out to that you really found inspirational in your journey?
Right. Well, my first job, I worked for 10 years for Scott Spooner, Spooner and Associates in Swanee. So he would be the attorney that, trained me and taught me how to do a family law case, among many other things. So for mentor and shout out person, it would definitely be Scott. But learning how to do a family law case, like I did have a very good example of how to do it the right way. But then you see other people do things, and I think a lot of times that makes an impression also. You learn how not to do things sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely.
But education like the Family Law Institute, like CLEs put on, the family law CLEs at the bar, I think that's also very important.
Mm-hmm. Where do you go out and look for information to stay current on legal news? Are there any podcast, books, resources, or anything that you would recommend to a family law professional?
So for law news, I listen to the Good Judgment podcast. Mm-hmm. Do you know the Good Judgment podcast? So I listen to that a lot. They actually had a 2-part family law case update. It's the case updates that I think are most important, mm-hmm. and I think that other practitioners miss the most. So I also write the Family Law section journal. I love
case law. Do you have any that pop to mind? Any kind of recent case law updates or anything that the public might find interesting?
Well, the one I don't even know how recent it is anymore.
Sure.
But the one that comes up the most in my practice is that Park POAPs versus Park case. Do you know this case?
I feel like I do. I feel like I've heard that POAPs.
Right?
That's one of those.
It's kind of odd in how it's, I do much better where I can spit the statute numbers off, and Lisa Marie, she works with the attorney that works with me. Mm-hmm. She's much better at remembering all the names of all the cases. But one of the things that case stands for is about extracurricular expenses. Mm-hmm. And so people commonly want to just say extracurricular expenses will be split 50-50 between the parties, but the law says that you can't do that actually. So a certain amount of the cost for extracurricular activities is included mm-hmm. in the child support amount in the BCSO, the Basic Child Support Obligation Table, and only expenses above that cap can be divided between mm-hmm. the parties. So the child support worksheet itself actually has a calculation that calculates that with the other special expenses. But, so I find attorneys all the time want to split extracurriculars 50-50, and you can't do that.
And so what if somebody's just watched this podcast and they just got their final order yesterday and it's being split, the extracurriculars are being split, and they come to you? What can you do? What can you do to help them get it right?
Well, if it was a consent agreement, there's not a lot you can do. Because
let's say the judge ordered it. The judge messed up. They didn't know about Parks POAPs. Well, what do we do as lawyers then if we just got an order yesterday?
Right. Well, if it's a recent order, if we're within 30 days or within the same term of court, you can do a motion for reconsideration. You can also, the judges have the ability to change their orders in the same term of court. So I've seen, where you can just politely write the judge a letter, maybe just be mindful of your deadlines. And I'm like, hey, judge, maybe you missed this case, and, I think you need to re-examine how extracurricular expenses are handled in this case. Mm-hmm. And either do that with a letter to the judge, which I've had work, or a motion for reconsideration. You can do that as well.
So even if your case has gotten messed up, Dodie can fix it. There's a limited amount of time.
There's a limited amount of time, and I don't know that I'm the best person to do that. I don't do any appellate work, so you only have 30 days from when the opinion was issued to file an appeal. So that's something just to watch also.
And so how would somebody find your website or your phone number to give you a call?
So our website is sacsfamilylaw.com. So the hard part is Sachs, S-A-C-H-S, but familylaw.com. And our phone number, you should maybe not put me on the spot, 770-695-7430.
All right, wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Dodie.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
This has been the Dealing with Divorce podcast. See you next time.